Oh, I didn't mean to do like
And we're live.
it's like boom, we're live. Good afternoon, everyone. Just let us know if you can see and hear us okay. Usual drill. If you are watching via YouTube, can you let us know that you can see and hear us? If you are watching via Facebook, can you let us know if you can see and hear us? My God, imagine if we like go into like Discord or sometime as well and stream through there. I don't even know if you can simultaneously, but like literally, I'm gonna have to spend like 10 minutes beforehand saying, "Can you let us know if you can see and hear us?" Jamie's Jamie's first in the house, always does. I feel like Jamie like has to do it now. Has to be like first on.
He's always first on, isn't
he? Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jay. Jay's let us know that he can hear and see us, which is great. Jamie as well. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. As usual, I forget to log into the comments. Too busy chatting away. Can see and hear on YouTube. Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting us know. Where are we? Right, let me go into the live. Oh, where are we? Here we go. Right. Lindsay, Phil, Simona, hi everyone. Richard, just got a few others that have joined us as well. So it's good to see everyone. Hope everyone is well. As we can see, Matt is in his new office. So tell us.
New background.
Yeah, new background, which I'm loving the simplicity of it. You know, you look
minimalist.
Nice yeah, minimalist. You look nice and bright, whereas I look like I'm being kept in someone's basement somewhere. You know, send help, send help. But yeah, it looks nice and bright. I like it. So obviously you've been keeping us updated on the Facebook group on how the build is going. So yeah, just fill us in.
Work. It's hard work. Yeah, so the build, we are 99% there now. So there's a few bits to touch up. So there's one wall that needs painting behind me. You can't see it, but to my left, I've covered it up purposefully. Because the plaster wasn't dry, so we got to paint that. I've got a few skirting boards, paint the doors. So we're 99% there. But yeah, it was the builder was like, "Oh, I'll have it done in 2 weeks. 6 weeks it's taken." And I'll be honest, it's had a real toll on the business. Like, I think the larger you get, every little change has a massive knock-on effect. Like, because obviously we had scaffolding in here, so basically the warehouse was out of operation. We were operating out of the downstairs office, which has been converted into the packing room now. So basically, how it is what was the old office is now the packing room, and then the new office is now upstairs above it. Which is good, but it's taken so long, and the business had a real knock-on effect because we couldn't work effectively.
And are you back to like proper operations now?
Today's the first proper day, yeah.
Right. And it's the first day that I've tied you up in meetings and lives.
Yeah, literally a first day, and they're like, "Yeah, you're free." I'm like, "No, I'm not free today."
sorry. Well, we shall stick to our hour time slot today because today's like quite a casual session, just a bit of a Q&A, just to check in with you guys. We have got specific things to talk about, but just to see how things are going. Because Alexander's joined us as well. Hi Luke, hope you're well. Loving the TikTok, by the way. Anyone that saw Luke's post in the econ group, check it out. Really seeing some good some good movement in TikTok. So Luke's actually going to be coming on Never Mind the Buy Box in a few weeks to talk about his TikTok journey and to talk about how he's using that platform to get extra sales for his brand, which anyone that knows me through ESA knows I'm a big brand fan. I think it's definitely the way that Amazon wants everybody to go, regardless of whether you are selling other people's products, which we will talk about. That's linked to what we're going to talk about a little bit today. But that ability to be able to cover different marketplaces, which I know is something that you do so successfully well as well, Matt. That peace of mind, that reassurance that the bigger you get, the more I suppose security that you have. And there's literally in the ecom world, there's income streams popping up all over the place, right?
Yeah, I mean you've got to be careful, of course, not to shiny object syndrome. That's the key here. The key to success is to do as many as you can while being able to put 100% effort into them. And I think that's where people sometimes go a bit wrong. They tend to like oh, jump on the TikTok, and then they do this and do the other, and it's, if you can master them, then you'll be really successful in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Ecom, there is some crappy things going on with Amazon at the moment, which we're going to dive in and talk about. And I'm trying to keep an uplifted, happy kind of mood because I feel like doom and gloom. Daniel,
I know, isn't it just?
you are far from being first today, I'm afraid. It's like a running joke we have with Daniel in the Wholesale Accelerator 5-day course that we had not last week, week before. Feels like an age ago
Just,
that
doesn't it?
now. Just feels like ages ago where, we had a lot of people joining the lives. So obviously, whoever's getting there first, but it's how we amuse ourselves on these type of things. But yeah, I'm trying to, not trying to keep upbeat or anything like that because I'm naturally positive, naturally upbeat person. No issues with that whatsoever. But there's some big changes happening in the world in Amazon at the moment, and ultimately, I think it's something that no matter where you are in your business, in terms of what your businesses produce, what your business sells, what type of model it sells, some of the changes that we're seeing at the moment, from changes inside Amazon and outside influencing factors, I'm talking about the economy, and that's what I want to speak a little bit about today as well, is it does feel like we're heading to that kind of doom and gloom kind of area, but at the same time it's maintaining the positivity of, like you just hit the nail on the head, Matt, there, where you said that there's never been a better time, to produce additional income streams through the opportunities available and the resources that we provide in this group, certainly, as well as outside sources, not just all about us guys. But it how do people, and this is a discussion point as opposed to anything else, how do people block out the noise and the that kind of being realistic with what's going on in the world right now, but at the same time channeling that positivity into their business? How do you do that? Because I know you've
Hmm.
experienced something recently with your high ticket stuff. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so we've just noticed a big, because obviously I don't know people who don't know me. I think most people know me. We specialize in higher end electronics as one of our specialties. Now we've noticed, although sales are up slightly overall across all marketplaces, we have noticed a big drop off in these higher ticket items. So we sell like £1,000 laptops, games consoles, Xbox One consoles, those kind of things. We've noticed a big drop off in demand, and it seems to be as well. It's not just price in terms of, sometimes with a high ticket item, you knock £50 off and you sell, they just fly, they just go because they're cheaper than anywhere else. But no matter what we do, they just don't seem to be moving. And I think that's a reflection on people's uncertainty. They're still buying lower value items, but they're not perhaps not making the plunge and going and buying a new laptop unless they need one.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's essentially it, especially with high ticket stuff at the moment. And I'm speaking, I don't sell high ticket stuff. It's never been my bag. It's never been something I've really been into. It scares the life out of me, to be perfectly honest. Scares the life out of me, with regards to Amazon. But obviously, the people that do it, do incredibly well with it. But for me, even from a consumer point of view, there are things at the moment that I'm absolutely, for the first time in my life, and me and Johnny were talking about this
Mm,
earlier. For the first time in my life, I'm actually thinking, do I need a new one of those? Or
yeah,
can I stretch that out a little bit longer? Like we were talking about cars earlier, normally I would have changed my car by now, at least it's coming up for renewal. No question, would have gone and down to it. And I'm thinking, well, should I do it, or should I just, for the sake of stability, do I just keep what I've got for the moment? That type of thing. So it's that element of not doom and gloom, but I suppose a little bit of a shift in mindset
yes,
that I suppose people are experiencing, and we're still on the edge at the moment. I think we're still very much in the Q4 bubble, in the sense that
Mm.
people like, where did I go the other day? And it was packed. It was like crazy packed. I'm just trying to think. What did I do over the weekend? Where did we go? Oh God, I can't even think. Where did I'm gonna need Matt to tell me where we went over the weekend, honestly.
Matt, jump on the comments. Where did you go at the weekend?
Yeah, where did we go at the weekend? We did football on Sunday, but we did something on Saturday. I can't remember what we did. Oh, sorry, this is not never mind Natalie's mind. She can't think of anything. But we went somewhere at the weekend and it was packed. And I said to Matt, I'm like, all these people, nobody's supposed to
Mm.
have any money. What's kind of going on? So I do think it is very much that living, denial a little bit at the moment. But like I said, I don't want to focus too much on that, because automatically this isn't an economist business that we're talking about. Yes, it does reflect on sales and things like that, but at the end of the day, like I've always said, you guys are in the right place, and you're doing the right thing by creating either additional streams of income off of your main income, whether it's full-time employed by someone else, or whether your main income is being driven by Amazon or eBay or TikTok or whatever. Everybody's in the right place to be able to expand, on where you are at the moment. And I think it is going to be a period of stagnation for a lot of people. So you went to a kids swimming party? Yeah, I did. Yeah. But I went somewhere else as well. Yeah, that's where I went. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, it's this period of like um stagnation. I think that people are going to have to accept, maybe over the next couple of years. We've talked about it previously, not growth, that type of thing. So I think from our point of view, it's about really maintaining that fact and making that reassurance of that fact going forward, that maybe the next couple of years it's not going to be about growth.
No, no, and as well, I think Amazon, I think people need to appreciate Amazon as a business is now a kind of, obviously, if you look at the business life cycle, most businesses kind of, they have this growth stage, they have this stagnant stage, and they decline. I don't think Amazon's going to decline, much
No.
like Coca-Cola has been in that kind of stagnant phase since day dot, slight growth. But I think we are at the peak, not maybe not the peak of all time growth, but I think we are going to be in for a flat growth period in Amazon. I do every year since I've been in this community, best Q4 ever, and everybody has had a better Q4 than previous years. Will that be the same this year? I don't know. I think it will be good. I think you'll make lots of money, but will it be better? I don't know. And will next year be better than this year? I genuinely don't know. I think success will be to grow slightly. I don't see anybody really having runaway success unless they're trying to do something completely different outside of the market, or kind of maybe going with the trend. If you can perhaps launch a product that appeals to the situation, if you're in the discount sector, then maybe you're in for a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's always subjective at the end of the day. It's always
Mm,
going to be somebody's best Q4 ever, because they might have
yeah,
started last year.
exactly.
And,
Yeah, exactly.
so it's always going to be someone's. I suppose the only real judge will be, if you've been doing it for probably maybe 2 years before COVID. I would say
Yeah,
that if you've been doing it for that long, yeah, maybe not. But COVID, at the end of the day, we know it boosted so many different, people's businesses and put them in a position of growth and acceleration that they wouldn't have ordinarily been in by now. The growth period that many people, and if you've managed to maintain that, people like Johnny, I don't think he'll mind me saying, that period of time really massively boosted his business. But he's been able to, through his systems and his processes and the way that he does things differently to everyone else, he's been not only been able to maintain it, but to continue to grow it, moving
yeah.
forward. So, those are the type of things that people need to be looking at in order to do it, for sure. So, didn't turn off my messages as usual. Sean says, piling up credit cards. Julia's joined us as well. Hi, guys. Welcome if you've joined us. Mark's joined us as well. Q4 will always be amazing, even in a crash if you're smart. companies in debt need to be careful they don't don't become over leveraged. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
I'm going to say
Uh,
that's actually a really interesting point because one of the main competitive advantages of most people in this group is you have low costs. You have even me. Okay, I have a warehouse, but compared to say, Tesco's, my costs are fractional, and a lot of big businesses operate on very, very small margins, have an awful lot of debt. So actually, your lower cost base, i.e., particularly if you're working out prep centers, you use leveraging FBA, using your house and your garage, that could be your biggest asset because you'll be
mhm.
able to undercut all these big sellers because they're not. You haven't got wages to pay, you haven't got all these big overheads, and actually, the smaller guys could well clean up in this kind of, well, I don't want to call it a recession because it's not, but this kind of challenging period because you're able to undercut the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's as good a opportunity as ever. The bedroom bandits, the self-prep guys, you guys absolutely will have the leanest possible cost. That is my prediction. I'm going to get my mystic nap, crystal ball out here. And I really do see, I feel the area of retraction that we will see in this space the most is you will see people going from maybe outsourced prep, maybe back to bringing some prep back
Mm-hmm.
in house. Whereas if sales stay the same, generally what you have to do is you have to look at the business. Sorry, let me turn these my focus. I'm easily distracted. So when your business stays the same, you need to look at your margins. And I'll tell you who's brilliant at this is Luke Dugan. He's absolutely brilliant at this. What he does is he will build his business as quickly as possible, or as much as possible within a certain period of time. And he doesn't really worry about margins or anything like that. It's just about increasing turnover, sell, 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 sell. That's what he does. Then, after a certain period of time, once he's managed to achieve a level of growth, he'll then go back and see where he can maximize the margins as much as possible.
Yeah,
So, and I think he's always been really smart at doing that. So, he may even go into a period of a month or two where his business doesn't make any profit because he's just increase the sales, test the market, increase, increase, increase. Then he'll go back afterwards and he'll find those gaps. He might have been buying from retail before. Okay, now he can purchase it and save, get it from wholesale, and he can save £1 per unit. And he's really good after
yeah,
analysis or an after action review of nailing down those costs. And I absolutely think that is what people's main priorities will be in 2023 is those kind of after action reviews, looking not where you can cut, because I'm a mindset person as well. And I think if you're saying I can't afford it, then you're automatically saying, well, you're going to fail,
yeah,
whereas there's a difference between if you don't use it,
yeah.
or if you're
Well,
not.
a really good example actually. So we've discussed we built this second story. We actually have two warehouses. Now that people know this, we actually have two warehouses. We have a main operation. We have like an overflow warehouse, which we moved out of that one into this bigger one. So we are going to be cutting that this year as part of the strategic expenditure. And within a year, this building will pay for itself by cutting the rent out of that second unit. So we're not downsizing, but we are looking at where is this actually an asset to the business having this extra
Mhm,
space? Do we really need it, or can we cut this cost and potentially increase our profitability? And I think a lot of people, what you might need to do is to look at your sales because, or the only certainty with more sales is more costs. And actually, sometimes selling less at a better margin is going to have a more profitable, leaner business than selling more. People think the answer to make more money is more sales, but the only
mhm.
certainty is that there's more costs.
Yeah, there's been a couple of examples of people I know, certainly I've worked with in ESA and in the general wider community as well, where they've actually scaled back on their sales
Mm,
deliberately. They actually scale back on their sales because they're working smarter, not harder. It's not just about the biggest sales at the end of the day. we're a maintain margin, people in, and certainly the new business that we've started selling in the US as well. Whereas, we might not sell as much as everyone else, but my margins are going to be higher. So it's a case of, less, handling of stock, of replenishment, of things like that. I'm not saying that's always going to be like that
Mhm.
forever. It may well be you get a point where you push in your business, but certainly from that point of view, I would rather have lower turnover, higher margin business. Always go for the higher margins where if possible, because there's more room for error.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. There's more leverage, and costs are increasing on everything all the time. So the more margin, the less of a concern it is. Like shipping on FBA has gone up, but because our items are so high ticket and high margin, I genuinely don't even know what the fee increase is. It doesn't bother me. It's not an issue to me. But if you're working on 5% margin and the cost goes up 5%, then oh dear, there goes all your margin.
yeah, absolutely. So, but different strokes for different folks, the compounding effect of the small margin as well. I don't
Mm,
want anyone, there's no right or wrong. There's absolutely no right or wrong. I think it depends on you as a business, you as a business operator, and things like that. So whether at what level you want to outsource, at what level you want to take it, at what level you want to manage yourself. I feel that there's so many different variants, to that in particular. Everyone's quiet today. Any questions, let us know as we
yeah,
go.
join in the convo.
Yeah, join in the conversation. Jay says that your background is definitely minimalist, which I really, really
Thanks.
like that. Yeah, I definitely like that. Had a few other people join us. Welcome, guys. So, what on earth have Amazon been getting up to now? They have just been causing carnage across the board these past couple of months. I don't know. Amazon just appear to just want to be an arsehole at the moment, more so than usual. And like I said, genuinely, I genuinely feel like at the moment I'm like merchant of doom, and I'm always kind of delivering the bad news. But hopefully, it's always you guys see it more as like um I suppose informative, letting you know, and the stuff that we're going to talk about here is happening over the pond. It may or may not happen. It may or may not come to the UK, but Amazon is, for me, just making another, throwing the gauntlet down, making another clear and bold statement to the world that when it comes to selling on Amazon moving forward, that they want brands selling on Amazon moving forward. They don't almost want to look at individual sellers. Now, don't be scared, guys. That doesn't mean that individual sellers cannot become brands, of course. But in terms of, they don't really want the individual sellers anymore. They want people really um, optimizing and utilizing the features that they've created, which in this world, in the arbitrage world, you guys probably don't see or are not as aware of as much as when you cross over into the private label world, and all the fantastic features that Amazon have been creating, like second to none, to be perfectly honest. It's a real marvel at the stuff that they're pushing into their back end,
Mm,
in terms of what you can do with creating a brand on Amazon. So, they want those features being utilized. They want people selling as brands on Amazon. And recently in the US, last couple of weeks, and it's been taking up quite a bit of our time, they've made that clear by cleaning up the Amazon catalog, essentially. So getting rid of any type of product that is not associated with the brand. So they ultimately, what's happened is, a few years ago, Amazon had a sort of guidance, but it was never really terms of service, that when it comes to creating products on Amazon, they wanted you to use GS1, but they never flat out said it, that it was like, okay, we prefer, the preferred option is to use GS1. Now Amazon have officially partnered with GS1, so that's the only route moving forward. Okay, but we've been teaching that for the last 12 months anyway, to be perfectly honest. So that's not an issue. What the issue is that Amazon aren't saying it right. From now on, everything's got to be GS1 moving forward, which absolutely they should. But what they've decided to do is just wipe out their whole catalog of everything that is or has never been associated with one, GS1, or two, that doesn't match the brand on GS1, or has no details. And to be perfectly honest, it's such a mind head F. It's such a mind task. If you think about the millions of products that are on the US platform, they've just all of a sudden they've put an algorithm into the system and they've said, right, anything that doesn't match this, let's get rid of it. So you can imagine the carnage and the chaos that that's causing in the US market at the moment, because on one hand they're saying, right, guys, this has got the incorrect information. If you don't correct it, we're going to delete the listing in 14 or 30 days or whatever. It's very similar system to the declaration of conformity. That's how it's the infrastructure of how it's mapped out. So on one hand, they're saying that, but on the other hand, they're saying, well, actually, but you can't do anything about it because the only person that could potentially change it is the listing creator. So from an arbitrage point of view, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. There's not much I can say other than, yeah, it's a nightmare. I mean, I don't know how much it will affect. It could be a catastrophe or it could be minimal. I guess it depends how much your barcodes match, really, doesn't it?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. In terms, I don't think people realize the extent of the mess. And by the way, this is absolutely Amazon's fault as well. They have for years not had a clear policy on how to create listings, and it is something that they make changes but don't tell anyone. So people that are leaders in the communities have to kind of work it out through trial and error. Do this, don't do this, and then that might change. I cannot tell you over the last 3 years how often and the guys in ESA all know this, and it's part of the reason why I created ESA, because if you listed a product 3 years ago and you tried to do it now, good luck. You would no chance of being able to do it in the way that Amazon want it done. By the way, that I'll add that. I'm not saying you wouldn't be able to do it, but it's changed so much. It's become so difficult. And there are so many different contributing, factors and variants and things like that have changed in the process about what you can do, what you can't do, what Amazon want, what they don't want, all of these different types of things. It's become almost impossible unless it's a bit like if you know kind of thing. So but the only reason if you know is if you're doing it all the time and you are constantly knowing what Amazon want, essentially. But yeah, part of the reason why we created ESA, because it was to have to have that information stagnant, and then it changed so much for it to be changing so much. But the information in, honestly, the Amazon brand name policy, like I said, we're creating listings and things like that. The amount of times it's changed over the last 3 years is a joke, and it's so easy. This is what I'm going into a rant, guys. Here we go. What annoys
I'll cut you
me,
off in a minute.
yeah. What's so annoying is it's so easy for Amazon to sort out, and they just won't sort it out. And I just, for the size of their company, and I can only attribute it to the fact that they're just too big. They don't recognize it's an issue.
No.
Because, why would you allow this abuse of the system to continue? That's what really annoys me about the whole thing. Anyway, we've had a question. Otherwise, honestly, I really would go into
you could go on all day.
Yeah, a bit of a rant on it for sure. So Bailey's Adventures, adding product has changed this afternoon. Seems to be way quicker, actually. For arbitrage, not sure about PL. Oh, that's interesting. Anyone else notice that?
I haven't had any products today. I shall ask the team.
I just literally went in to add a product beforehand, but it was on the US system. So I didn't go through it. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone else has had that changes. With Amazon, it's pretty random when when changes come into effect. Um, so Craig said, so it says hi, by the way. Thanks, Craig. If you have created a barcode using GS1 or US equivalent, GS1 is universal. That's what it stands for, global systems. So it's GS1 in the US and the UK. But listed as generic or something similar, do you have the chance to change the brand owner to the correct name? So if you're the listing creator, you've got a much better chance to be able to do it. So what you can do is, well, there's two parts that you can do relating to that, because there's two issues. Okay. So you can, if you've put something under generic, you can adopt it into your brand, whether it's an unregistered brand or your brand registry. More likely to be able to do it under brand registry. You can adopt it into your brand, but it's very hard. It's one of the hardest things to do on Amazon. And then the second hardest thing to do on Amazon is change the UPC or the EAN code. Again, it can be done. Amazon say it can't be done, but it can be done. There is a possibility that they can do it, but it's hit and miss whether or not you get it done, and it's whether or not you fall victim to Amazon's frustration. So, the frustration of Amazon. But the issue here is not the first issue, which I know is probably, I wanted to point out both things, because one, the first thing you would need to do is adopt it into your brand registry. But it's actually the second issue that's the biggest issue, is that Amazon is currently on record saying that you cannot change a UPC on record, although I have, and I am aware of people that have been able to do it. So that's the issue. What the issue will be is whether or not the brand, so in this case, it's generic, whether or not the brand matches the GS1 barcode, which, of course, if you've put it in as generic, then we don't know how deep Amazon are looking on this. If they're looking at just the brand and you've put the brand in as generic on the GS1 barcode, then you should be okay, if that's all they're looking at. But are they looking at the company owner who owns the GS1? So if they're looking at that and it's Craig's Business Ltd, then no, that won't be a match and it will go at risk. But it's still quite new, so we don't know at what extent they're looking at the moment. So it's a developing situation. Are they looking at just matching brand? We understand it's the brand at this stage. So if you have put it in the brand field as generic, then it should be okay. And you can obviously check that on your EAN code. So just as a quick barcode lesson for anyone, we use EAN, and Americans use UPC, but you can actually list on Amazon via either.
Yeah, because not all products have EANs as well, just to be clear.
No.
A lot of products just have UPCs. I don't think I've ever seen just an EAN. I think I've seen UPCs and EANs, but a lot of products don't have EANs. They just use one UPC.
Yeah, I've definitely seen just EANs.
Have you?
Yeah, I've seen just EANs, but mostly, yeah, you're right, mostly, and that's what it stands for, Universal Product Code. So, that's what mostly people will have. But at the moment, like I said, it's not an issue in the UK.
Yet. But as we know with Amazon, what happens in the US comes across. Well, actually, then again, not everything comes across.
No,
but
not everything.
A lot of things do.
No, I was having a conversation with Matt about this yesterday, and he looked at it in a different way. He looked at it as, well, US has got the biggest marketplace, biggest catalog, and technically, in the world of Amazon, so this could work for the UK. In the world of Amazon, the US fuels everything. So you should technically be able to sell the same product in the US that you can in the UK through the same ASIN. That's what you're supposed to do, right? But there's this disconnect between between the
Yeah.
unified accounts from the US to the UK, which means that if I take a UK ASIN, uh, even though it's been created with a universal product code or an EAN, and it's officially and correctly been put on the system, then I should just be able to put that ASIN into the US market and it should come up, but it doesn't because they're not linked. You have
Yeah.
to link the marketplaces to do that. Now, that's a manual process that you can go ahead and do. You can manually have that done. But to be honest, Amazon sometimes will connect them automatically. So, like, guys, when you see on like a keeper chart where you'll see like the reviews go up all of a sudden, and like
Yeah,
one day
because they
they've got
pulled the
20.
reviews across from the US. Yeah.
Yeah, because they've pulled it through and they've connected it through the US marketplace. So, but that doesn't automatically happen. That is something
It
that,
is automatic for the Europe, though, isn't it? My understanding was everything links across all European platforms.
yeah, because it's the same marketplace.
Yeah.
So if the US is a different marketplace. So UK and Europe, if I create a listing, it should technically get pushed through
To all of them. Yeah.
to all of the marketplaces, or it can be activated certainly in all of the marketplaces. Just a case of like making sure I can do that through build international listings. Whereas if I create a listing in the US marketplace, then I will be able to do the same for Mexico and Canada for that in that particular marketplace as well. So, but the two US to UK, which I've always found quite odd that Amazon don't do that, because obviously Amazon is a global retailer and they've
Yeah.
really pushed for the US to sell to the UK and the UK to sell to the US. So
The
I'm
only thing
surprised.
I can think of is to do with manufacturers pushing back against it, because we have a lot of issues from manufacturers. Europe, basically, how it's considered for a lot of manufacturers is Europe, Canada, Mexico is one marketplace, then Europe, and then kind of East Asia. Sometimes they separate the Middle East as well. So they tend to not like US products coming into Europe and European products ending up in the US, because they sometimes make specific products for those marketplaces. And I think that's the reason that they don't like it. They probably push back against Amazon for that change.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. It's but it's Amazon. You can just get around by saying
Yeah.
everything. Oh yeah, it's Amazon. Just Amazon. Sean says also keep an eye on the American economy so that you can predict what will happen in the UK economy later on. That's my opinion. Well, I don't know if it can get any worse for the UK economy. To be perfectly honest, I think the we're heading for kind of free fall. I think.
I think genuinely, I think the US is that big that basically, if something happens in the US, it will affect the UK. But the UK, I think if something happens in the UK, I don't necessarily think it will affect the US. I think it's only one
Oh
way.
no.
It's not vice versa. So if the US is doing well, it doesn't mean the UK is doing well. But if the US is doing badly, then the UK is doing badly.
Yeah, absolutely. So the phrase is if America sneezes, the world catches a cold.
Yeah.
And, that's very true. But I think the issues that are happening in the UK economy are very isolated to the UK economy at the moment. Obviously, there is worldwide issue with inflation, but the specific
But
issues
most
that
of
we're
that's driven
having.
by energy prices, though, and America is much more secure in
Yeah.
its own energy production. So that's why they're not experiencing quite the same inflation rate, because it's not as bad.
We were talking about this earlier. I know that this isn't a property show or anything like that, but we were talking about it in terms of potential crash or crash or
Mm,
whatever. I still stand by, and I'm always happy to admit I'm wrong, but I still stand by the fact that there won't be a crash.
no.
Certainly in the housing market, that people had been expecting. Some people have been talking about 40% or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I feel that we're heading into uh the past doesn't always equal the future, and we are heading into something that has never been experienced before. And so I think that there will actually come a point, I think that we will hit, and this isn't to scare people, but I think we'll hit civil unrest before we hit a housing crash
Mm,
market, because there will come a point next year where people just can't pay their bills.
yeah, unless there's yeah, interest rates and things. I think we were saying this before with the housing market. I agree. I can see certain asset classes struggling though. Like I think a lot of people who perhaps say have a 5 or 6 bedroom house, kids have moved out, will look to downgrade, but then people won't look to upgrade. You know, those who have growing families will probably kind of stretch their 3 beds and rather extend it than move. So I think that those kind of asset classes might struggle. But I think the majority of the housing market will stay. The very top will be unaffected, and the very bottom will be unaffected. I think it
Yeah.
will be the kind of the upper middle kind of design of houses that's going to struggle because people will want to move out to save money, but won't be able to afford the mortgage payments to move into them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know, guys. What do you think? Do you think that, this is something that is going to, are we going to sort of experience things we've had before? Or are we heading into like brand new territory? It'd be good to get everyone's thoughts on this, because I think that when you don't experience these type of things, when you don't experience them previously, then I think it's something that people are a bit like, is it going to happen? I don't know. I'm one of those. I wait and see what's going to happen. It doesn't really impact either way, because there's no point worrying about it. What's going to happen is going to happen. And
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Corrections every 10 to 15 years. Well, this is the first time. Where's Matt Webley? LOL. Like literally, I've never seen a correction before, right? The last correction was in the 80s.
because 2008 was technically a correction, but then it was sort of print so much money, it didn't really have any real impact.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It wasn't a correction that most people felt.
Mm,
Yeah, I certainly haven't felt any type of correction for in my lifetime. This is going to be the first, period of time I think that we would see anything like this happening. 2008 was a scam, to be perfectly honest, in the sense that well, sorry, 2008, as in I bought my house, this house that we live in now, in 2008, and I didn't get it any cheaper. And I'm a good negotiator at the end of the day. But house prices, I suppose, yeah, it really does depend where you live, of course. But house prices in the area I live don't drop, or haven't dropped.
no,
Nothing was cheaper. The only thing that was good was like low cost of borrowing, obviously, for a period of time. But yeah, sorry, I'm gonna have to agree to disagree with that one, I'm afraid. 2008 crashed. I got a cheaper property. I'm planning for the next crash. That's a huge. Jamie says house prices will drop for sure, but I don't believe it will be on a scale it was previously. A third of all home owners have paid off their mortgages, and banks stopped doing 100% mortgages years ago. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
yeah,
Certainly interesting to see what the market will deliver. And like I said, it will genuinely, I think, get to a point where people can't pay their bills. And in a modern world, I mean, I know the 70s is like and the 80s was a modern world, but people were different then. And I've said this before, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but in the 80s, you and the 70s, you had people that had lived, or certainly were impacted by the Second World War. So, my parents, my dad lived through the Second World War because I had an older dad, I had an older parent, or grandparents, where they were used to rationing. They were used to pulling their belts in and doing this and, blah, blah, blah. People no, like my kids, if like my kids don't get something or whatever, not like Veruca Salt or anything, but you know what I mean? It's like kids are used to getting what they want. Their parents are used to
Yeah.
getting what you want. I've never had a period in my time, in my life where I couldn't say, right, I can't get that now or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was just looking at the house price thing. So houses in our area in 2008 fell by 3%. So it wasn't too bad, I don't think. But I mean, reckon other areas. But the growth in our area is pretty slow and flat. It's kind of steady. It's not really. I wouldn't say it was exemplary in any way. Certainly like London, because London obviously accelerated massively after 2008. So I reckon they'll probably be in for a big crash. But
Yeah,
most
maybe.
areas, I think, will be okay.
But then the way that I see it, okay, house prices have gone down 3% in your area. Well, what have they gone up in the last 12 months?
Yeah, exactly.
They've probably gone up 10%.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of reflective, in the way that you look at it. But it's interesting. I think relatively the property market will be unaffected. And I think it will just be new properties. People aren't going to move. That's for sure. Yeah. People aren't going to move. But yeah, it'll be interesting to watch it, of course. Sean says there's opportunities coming if you're not over leveraged. 100%. Again, we were talking about this earlier for sure. If you have cash, if you have good cash flow in that respect, yeah, absolutely, the opportunities. And I think with regards to anything, the opportunities still within the e-commerce space are it's still growing, still golden age, guys, to be growing a business during this period of time. If you are able to build it on top of the stable income, then the sky's the limit. I would be saying to people now, ultimately, if anyone's built a business over the last, I don't know, couple of years, and they're maybe thinking, oh, this is the time where I might exit my job, in order to focus on my business. I would say, yeah, possibly this isn't the right time to be doing it now. Try and struggle along and, think about outsourcing before thinking about quitting your job, maybe. So having that stability, I think that's going to be important moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, don't let it stop you if you're determined, kind of thing. But yeah.
Yvonne said, a friend told me last night house prices in Canada have fallen by 20%. Oh,
Interesting.
might go to Canada. Quite like to go. It's actually on the bucket list to go to Canada. I've never been to Canada.
I fancy going Canada.
I really want to go to Canada. Yeah, that's my kind of place, full of cold and yeah, I just need to live in a cold country for sure. But Canada, yeah, that's interesting. Canada's got quite a good economy as well.
Has.
As far as I'm aware, but I'm not an economist, obviously. Johnny said properties probably won't drop till next year. The lack of supply creates a lag. Andre has said 3 of the biggest builders we contacted in our area are still selling stock, but that's yet to be built. So there you've got the other, side of the coin. Johnny says my move is to buy up great companies next year. Google,
Yeah.
Apple, and hopefully at a good discount. Be nice, wouldn't it? Sean saying, Andre, different story in America. America is in trouble. What happens in America comes to the UK. Wait and see. Yeah, well, we shall have to wait and see. I mean, there's no point in denying tough times are coming. Absolutely. And, you've just got to be doing your best to produce as much as possible during this period of time. Use this opportunity to grow those income streams. It's never been more possible to do it. It's never been more possible to do it during this period of time with so many resources, with softwares, with prep centers, with everything like that. And if you're prepared to put the work in now, I think that's the overwhelming message is it was easy the last couple of years. The next couple of years is going to feel like harder work. So have you got the minerals?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a slog. I think for the next few years, but it doesn't mean. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily for everybody though. I think if you've got a lean business, then you're in for a good time. You probably can sweep up a lot of the market. I think there'll be a lot of. I don't know when I talk about OA and RA deals, but I think there will be a lot of those deals because as retailers struggle, wholesalers as well, probably looking to move stock if their bigger customers aren't ordering as much, can mean opportunity for you. So the thing with everything is there's opportunity everywhere. Every change presents opportunity. The worst thing that happens is when it's completely stagnant and nothing's changing. Recession creates opportunity and growth creates opportunity.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I look at the side of the argument or the side of the coin in, everyone's saying, oh, the shelves are bare in the supermarkets and things like that, and stock issues and supply issues and things like that. Well, actually, is it because people are leveraging themselves less? Are they focusing on cash flow more? Are the buyers being told to reduce and, reduce to a shorter period of in stock? Is that what's happening at the moment? Is it strategic from the retailers, from the supermarkets? I suspect it probably is, to be perfectly honest. Whereas we're all thinking, oh, there's supply chain issues, there's this, there's that. When actually, is everybody just getting leaner in terms of, and more efficient? Whereas all the shelves were filled before and they had the ability to be able to do it, whereas now essentially, like we talk about, like something that we're building at the moment with Johnny, which obviously we've spoken about, is bringing those elements. I've spoken to a couple of sellers lately that have had real issues with cash flow because they're overbuying and things like that, but being more, I suppose, nailed down on what you're buying in your business, though that's going to make a big difference for people this year.
Yeah, completely agree. I think with the supermarkets and that and the shops, I think there is still distribution issues that they're not quite as prevalent in the news, but there are still distribution issues as well. So of course they're going to hold the stock more centrally and try and fulfill it. Well, I think another thing is people's buying habits have changed. A lot more people click and collect now. I think even if they do buy it from a physical retailer, they will order it online and go and pick it up rather than obviously Argos was well ahead of the trend on that one. But I think a lot of people, they'll order it online, they'll pick it up in store. I think a lot of people don't actually like deliveries. I'm one of them. I feel it creates uncertainty and hassle. I always click and collect everything. I think it's a much better experience.
I prefer deliveries.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm a delivery girl. So, oh, right. Okay. I think Johnny meant shares as opposed to buying up Google and Apple. So we know you're doing well, Johnny, which, don't get too ahead of yourself. Right. So Sean says, where are we? China's even worse when we're talking about the global economy. Johnny says, America has a completely different landscape. The UK is a tiny island. Property was the best asset to have this year, while in the States it dropped. Sean says, you've got to be prepared more than ever. I know what's coming. I'm hoping to win. Sean, you're going to win. There's no doubt about it. I know you will. You're a winner. I'll be happy to do just 2 or 3 cheap properties. LOL. Got a meeting with an accountant next month about holding company. Good. Sounds good. Andre said that's why all the club cards and rewards apps are they. Oh, they know what you buy when you buy it. They have
I see.
an amount of predictability. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, you're absolutely right. What's the one thing that Jeff Bezos did that he talked about back in like 1995 or whatever, whenever it was? How long ago is 1995? Yeah, that's about when,
27 years ago.
Yeah, 96, 97, 98, or whenever Amazon was first started. Oh, that's a bit shameful. Amazon expert doesn't know when Amazon started.
94.
I don't know.
I thought it was 94.
I thought I saw an interview of him in like 95 talking about the
1994 points.
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, was right. So yeah, I saw an interview of him like 1995 actually about when and he was talking about gathering customer data then,
Mm.
like
Yeah,
literally
data. Yeah.
data. And, Andre's absolutely right. It's gathering that customer data. And I think companies are getting smarter with their customers' data. They know exactly what people are going to be buying, what they want to buy, and, the amount of people that are buying it, who's coming into the store, who's clicking, collecting, who's having it delivered, and things like that. And that's why you'll probably see the condensement, if that is such a word, or the condensing of, your larger stores and things like that as they move forward, because they don't need the space anymore, because of, they probably need more back end space in terms of like warehouse space than they need actual physical front space, because we're becoming a society that either wants it delivered, or doesn't want to physically go in the shop and get it. So yeah, less people coming in, less chance of picking up. I mean, I went into Asda the other day to try and find these stupid Prime drinks that my son desperately wants. Whatever, does everyone know what they are? The KSI. Oh,
I've no idea.
Oh, no, it's like, I don't even know who he is. He's like a YouTuber or something like that, and he's created
Right.
these energy drinks, which I would never allow my child to drink, because they're like the devil, these drinks. I would never allow them to drink, but he just wants one, to say to his friend, "Oh, I've got a Prime drink." But they've sold out everywhere. It's like Mr. Beast chocolate, Kylie Jenner lip gloss, that type of thing. It's the latest, must-have thing. So we went in there, and I went in to buy that, and I said to him, I spent like 50, 60 quid on like Halloween stuff. And I was like, thanks, Max. I came in to buy you a £1, energy drink that you're not even going to drink. And you cost me 60 quid, because, but less people coming into the store to do that. You're
Yeah.
going to need a more condensed range, because obviously you're going to have less people physically coming in and going for those like impulse buys. So, we can always replicate what we're looking at from I'm a big believer in you as I'm an average person. And what I'm thinking generally is probably what the masses is thinking, and my
Yeah.
behaviors and what I'm doing. So if I'm doing that, then probably the masses are doing that. And that's a good reflection, actually, and good instinct to put into business as well.
Yeah.
Sean said, if it wasn't for billionaires, we wouldn't be able to leverage their platforms. I never slag them off unless you're Bill Gates. I never understand what they are. Andrew said there are Prime drinks on Facebook for a tenner each. Yeah, exactly. And yes, we have, like, literally, yeah, we bought one on eBay for about 8 quid. I mean, it's ridiculous, but things you do for your kids, eh? I was when Matt told me he bought it, and I was like, oh my god, I wouldn't have bought it, but Matt bought it, so I'm throwing him under the bus for sure. Interesting watch, actually, for anyone that is looking for something sort of motivational to watch. Actually, I haven't watched it all, but there's a series. I think if anyone's got Paramount Plus, it's called something like, I'll have to look it up. It's called How the Billionaires Are Made, or something. And it's a series, and each one is about the billionaires. Yes, there is Bill Gates on there. Sorry, Sean. He's episode 2, I think. But Amazon is not the first episode. So Jeff Bezos is the first episode. And actually, there's some interesting stuff in there that I didn't know about Amazon and how it was formed and things like that. So if anyone's looking for anything to watch from that point of view, and I think I haven't watched past the Bill Gates one, but it's also showing the time and the growth of like Silicon Valley, and there's one on Musk, and there's one I think on Zuckerberg. And so, but it's quite an interesting thing if you run out of watching House of Dragons or whatever. So yeah, good recommendation for that. We started watching that the other night, but yeah, I've only gotten to episode 2 so far, because we don't watch that much telly.
We don't watch that much. Is that Netflix?
I think it's Paramount Plus, which we get.
Oh, right.
Sky. I wouldn't have it
Oh,
otherwise.
I don't have Sky, so there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it started in a garage. Yeah. So started in there was do you know what? For the life of me, my memory's terrible today and I can't remember. There was something like literally we were watching the first episode. I said to Matt, "Did you know that?" And he was like, "No, I didn't know that." It was quite a shocking thing. I think it was to do with what Jeff Bezos did before or something. Because he was a data expert for financial companies. That's what he was. Yeah,
Ah,
that's what I mean. So I didn't actually know what he did before, and he was a data capture specialist. So that's what he did before. So that's why he knew that the data was so important to be able to gather the data on his customers. But I'll tell you what, you just look at some of the stuff that, in that video and he just looks, yeah, he just looks crazy. But they've all got that certain edge, all of them. You can see it, especially if you're watching it. They've all got those similarities, which is it's quite interesting to watch anyway. Right. Well, we are at 2:00. Like I said, lots of good yes, that's it. That's it. That was the thing. Whoever said that, Chris. Bezos actually made his money from investing in Google. That was the fact.
ah,
Yes, you're absolutely right, Chris. So I don't know if you watched the same one as I watched, but yeah, that's where I turned around to Matt and I was like, wow, did you know that? Yeah, he made a packet. That's what enabled the growth for Amazon because he was one of the early investors in Google.
that's interesting.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, I didn't
basically,
know
the
that
way
at
to
the
get rich
time.
is just invest in somebody else's company.
Yeah, whereas you always associate Jeff Bezos as being, well, he is totally self-made, there's no doubt about
Yeah,
that. But what I mean is it's through you assume all of his wealth has come from Amazon, but it didn't. So, but yeah, that's a fact I definitely didn't know. It was on the Acquired podcast. Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't think that's like a really well-known fact because I was quite surprised by that. So yeah, thanks for
that's
clarifying that. I
really
would have been
interesting.
thinking about it and yeah, going mad. But it's definitely a good watch if anyone's interested. So guys, I'm not here next week. It's Matt and whoever you choose to bring on, which I assume is probably
Ooh,
Johnny.
yeah, I think so. Not
So
not
you
joining up for a
guys,
while.
it's half term next week. So what is everyone up to actually? Is everyone going to be chilling? Is everyone going to be, we're going to be going away with the kids. So
No,
spending what time?
we're working because it's half term, so we don't go on holiday when other kids are on holiday. Because we're
Absolutely.
childless and
Yeah.
like dual income families, so we like to avoid the kids where possible.
Yeah, literally right up until that we were having this conversation, weren't we, a couple of weeks ago? I said, right up until those kids need to go to school, you need to maximize that time as much as possible
Yeah,
because people always think that your life changes when you have a baby. Your life doesn't really change when you have a baby, especially if you get up at 5 o'clock, like I normally do, which I haven't been doing over the last couple of weeks actually. But it doesn't change that much ultimately. It really changes when they go to school. That's when it changes. So that's
yeah,
when you're more tied, when it's more of a commitment. So, make sure you do everything you can that requires not having to take your kids away during half term and things like that when they're older, for sure. Sean says he's going to be taking massive action. I would not expect anything
anything
less.
less.
Absolutely. Taking massive action every day. Yeah, so I think after half term, that's when we're seeing next week. So it's half term pretty much across the country next week, probably private schools as well. I think once we go past Halloween and we go into November, I think that's when we'll see Q4 starting to bite a little bit, starting to kick in.
Yes, I think this payday. Another thing as well, I think when people get tighter, they tend to be more in line with paydays. It's particularly common on eBay. I mean, if you sell on eBay, you notice it a lot more. You always have a pickup third week of the month, but I think particularly this Q4 is going to be very kind of third week of each month driven, apart from December, of course. But certainly, I think there's going to be a lot of. I think sales will really kick off the back end of next week when people get paid, and I
Mhm.
think again the third week of November is probably going to be. It's Black Friday anyway, but I think that's going to be the real peak.
But I think tying in with half term, that can be disruptive. You know, school
Mm,
holidays really do affect, um and I think this year I know a lot of people going away this year. So we're staycationing, so we're staying in the UK. But I think that a lot of people, certainly I know, I mean, like the world and his dogs like going to Turkey at the moment. So it's like everyone's going to Turkey at the moment.
yeah.
Um, but I think essentially people um again might see it as one last opportunity to get away
Mm,
before, you know, next year really bites and the energy prices kick up and, you know, that type of thing. So it'll be interesting to see next week actually, because holidays do have an impact definitely on sales on Amazon. So, but with that, like you said, I think a lot of people's sales would be very payday driven at the
yeah.
moment as well. So yeah, as always, interesting to look at. So guys, make sure you join Johnny and Matt next week, 1 o'clock, same place as always. And then after that, we've got a nice series of guests booked in, that we're going to be talking about various different things, different ways of selling on e-com and Amazon and seven-figure sellers and everything like that. So it'll be nice for hopefully nice and motivational for people over the Q4 period. As always, if you're watching via YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed as yet, please do that as well. And if you can, make a comment on the video afterwards just to say you've enjoyed it or whatever you want to say, obviously. But if it's rude, it will get deleted. Just
Yeah.
saying that. But
Just
just,
saying.
you know, just the usual. So thanks once again for joining us, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Matt, over to you.
Yeah, I'll see you next week. For me and Johnny, I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. If anyone's got any particular topics you would like to discuss, I think it'll be a general chit chat one. Potentially, I know a lot of people are doing in the warehouse kind of thing and the people management. So maybe we'll put something together on that.
Maybe
And that
a
was
bit of Shopify.
bit of Shopify, yeah, because we're both got
Yeah,
Shopify websites and they're both doing pretty well. So yeah, we could talk Shopify.
yeah.
Bit of a change from
TikTok.
FBA because I know we
Shopify.
do a lot of Amazon, hence never mind the buy box. But yeah, never
Well,
mind the shop,
there's
never
always a
mind the
buy box.
Shopify box.
Never, no, well, you know, it's always ecom. So yeah, I think that would be good. Maybe you guys having a bit of a chat about some of the strategies on that. So yeah, I think people enjoy that.
Yeah, that'd be
Right.
good.
See you next week, guys.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. No, I won't see you next week. Sorry. See you in
No,
2
I
weeks.
will. I will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.